those strikes. Multiple explosions heard in Tehran, Tabriz and Isfahan. Let's bring in Alan Fisher, who's live for us in Washington, D.C. Alan, Donald Trump picked up the phone. He called Netanyahu. He asked him not to do this. He wanted him to hold off on any kind of strikes on Iran to make sure that whatever deal he's working on with Iran would not be put into jeopardy. Do you think that these strikes that Netanyahu has obviously launched and given his go-ahead to be carried out, do you think that that could actually derail these negotiations now?
Well, to be clear, let's make it absolutely certain that Donald Trump had that conversation with Benjamin Netanyahu. He said he did. So publicly and quite openly, he urged restraint on the Israeli Prime Minister. And it appears that that was either misdirection, which would have big question marks about the future diplomatic direction of talks with Iran, or Benjamin Netanyahu did have that conversation and simply decided to defy the U.S. president. Donald Trump told reporters that he wanted to make sure that effectively there was a lid kept on the trouble, that Israel had had its attack on Lebanon, the Iranians had responded, therefore they had, in his words, both had their fun, but now they had to effectively stop to allow negotiations between the United States and Iran to continue, and he believed that there was a deal close by. Now, it appears that obviously the Israeli Prime Minister decided to act without the permission of the US president. That seems more likely than the idea of Donald Trump being involved in public misdirection. And that will have consequences for his relationship with Donald Trump going forward. It's clear there has been an element of frustration from Donald Trump towards Benjamin Netanyahu. From the conversation that they had a week ago, where he used several expletives to Benjamin Netanyahu and told him that whatever he was doing in Lebanon was actually screwing up the possibility of a peace deal with the Iranians, to this latest incident where it appears, if Donald Trump is to be taken at his word, he told Benjamin Netanyahu not to do anything more, not there to be no more response, and that will get in the way of any possible peace deal. So Donald Trump hasn't confirmed the conversation took place. The White House has not confirmed it either. In fact, we haven't heard from Donald Trump on his Truth Social platform for 24 hours or so. So in the coming hours, as Washington wakes up on Monday morning, it will be interesting to see what the fallout of this is. Many Trump supporters suggesting very clearly that Benjamin Netanyahu was put in an impossible position. He had to act because of his own domestic concerns. He had to act because Israel had come under attack from Iran. And even though Donald Trump did not want him to act, he had to act against the wishes of the U.S. president.
I mean, these two have spoken on the phone multiple times, Netanyahu and Donald Trump. Could it be that we're hearing one thing in public and then these two discuss another thing in private? I mean, could Donald Trump have told him, OK, Netanyahu, go ahead, launch sort of a limited response, and then let's leave it at that? Could that kind of conversation have taken place?
Look, it would be wrong to speculate on what could have taken place and pose various hypotheticals. Certainly, the Israeli media are reporting that the phone call took place. Donald Trump told a number of reporters that he was calling Benjamin Netanyahu, that he was making it clear that, in Donald Trump's words, he calls the shots, that Benjamin Netanyahu would not be able to argue against or oppose any possible peace deal with Iran. Now, in these conversations, often what you get is a very, we often see the president spoke to the prime minister for almost an hour. They both agreed that the current position in Lebanon was unacceptable, that Hezbollah was to blame for the violence, and they would continue to discuss regional security. It takes a lot longer, that takes a few minutes. So if you're talking for 45 minutes, obviously a lot of ground is being covered. A lot of that will remain classified and confidential. And so it's unclear what they spoke about. But what is clear is the growing frustration that Donald Trump has with Benjamin Netanyahu. It was reported that he swore at him. He called him several expletives during the phone call last Monday. No one was willing to confirm that until Donald Trump himself did in an interview with the New York Post that evening and said, yep, he'd absolutely done that. And that is a sense that there is a frustration with Benjamin Netanyahu. But there's also a sense that Donald Trump doesn't quite understand the dynamics of Israeli politics, the dynamics of Benjamin Netanyahu's tenuous, fragile coalition, and of course, the whole makeup of the court action against Benjamin Netanyahu, and if he has to fight in the court, if he is not a, quote, wartime prime minister, what that might mean for his long-term future. So there are many issues to be concerned about here, but one of them clearly is, if we rule out misdirection, which I think we almost certainly can, that this will create a rift between Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. But as we said in the last hour, the Israelis kind of accept there may be some anger directed towards them, but the consequences really don't manifest itself in anything concrete, such as a reduction in funding, a cut in funding. They have a wide network here in the United States that would campaign and work actively against that idea.
Al Jazeera's chief U.S. correspondent Alan Fisher reporting live from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much, Alan.